It's mid-morning on the 21st of July 2025 over the South China Sea. A U.S. Navy P-8 amperes Poseidon patrol aircraft scans wide stretches of blue when its sensors suddenly spike fast movers closing in. Within seconds, the crew spots the glint of metal. A Chinese J-11 fighter jet cuts across their nose, barely a few dozen feet away. The turbulence rattles the Poseidon. Voices crackle over the intercom warnings, orders, shock. Before the crew can steady themselves, another radar return flashes. More fighters inbound, including the newer J-16 and the stealthy outline of a J-20. The intercept is aggressive, far closer than international norms. The Poseidon is boxed in, with American carrier aircraft scrambling in the distance. Altitude warnings chirp. The P-8 amperes dips a few feet to dodge the jet wash, cameras rolling. In the cockpit, the pilot calls it out, unsafe pass, bearing 085. The cabin holds its breath. One wrong move here could set off a chain reaction nobody can stop. The South China Sea is one of the busiest waterways on Earth. Tankers, container ships, and fishing fleets cross these lanes every hour, carrying fuel, food, and goods that keep daily life running back home. For Washington, keeping these routes open is not optional, it's essential. That's why the U.S. Navy keeps the P-8 amperes, Poseidon, and full carrier strike groups here, patrolling and signaling presence. For Beijing, the picture looks different. Chinese jets, J-11 seconds, J-16 seconds, and even the stealth J-20 are not just tools of defense. They are statements, flying close and pushing limits to show these skies are under China's control. Every intercept, every near miss, is part of a gray zone campaign. Pressure without open war. The danger is clear. One slip of a joystick, one sudden turn, and two aircraft can collide. That already happened in 2001 when a Chinese fighter and a U.S. EP-3 collided, costing a life and sparking a crisis. Today, the stakes are even higher. The U.S. insists on freedom of navigation and ISR flights. China insists on sovereignty. Both sides refuse to back down. The Poseidon's crew knows their mission isn't just about flying a track on radar. It's about proving America will not be pushed out. For sailors on the carrier deck and pilots in F divided by A-18 Super Hornets, the same is true. Hold the line, no matter how close the challenge comes. Allies across the Pacific watch carefully. If the U.S. falters, trust wavers. If the U.S. holds, credibility grows. This clash is more than machines in the sky. It's about trade routes, national pride, and great power rivalry. And it leaves the world asking, which side blinks first? If you think the U.S. must stand firm, hit 1 inch the comments. If you think China's push is unstoppable, press 9. Either way, subscribe now so you don't miss how this standoff unfolds. 11:02 local time. The Poseidon's radar lights up with multiple returns, Chinese J-11 seconds and J-16 seconds tightening their circle. The crew calls it out, calm but tense. Two bandits, closing fast. From the carrier strike group nearby, F divided by A-18 Super Hornets roar off the deck, afterburners glowing, climbing to meet the intercept. Inside the P-8 amperes, every sound feels louder. The whine of engines, the buzz of sensors, the clipped voices over radio. A Chinese jet dives across the nose again, forcing the pilot to drop a few hundred feet. In the cabin, crew strapped tighter, cameras rolling, proof of the unsafe maneuver. These intercepts are common, but this close, they're dangerous. One wrong wingtip touch and both aircraft could go down. The first Hornets arrive. They move fast, spreading wide, forming a protective screen around the slower Poseidon. Their job? Show presence, block angles, and make sure no Chinese jet gets too close. Overhead, an E-2D Hawkeye feeds radar tracks to every U.S. aircraft, ensuring no one flies blind. Coordination is everything. One missed call, and fighters can collide with each other instead of the opponent. The Chinese respond by sending in more aircraft. A J-20 stealth jet appears on sensors, its radar cross-section faint but unmistakable. Its role is clear: intimidation. The message is simple: you are in our skies. Back on the carrier, the flight deck hums as more jets prepare to launch. The U.S. commander knows this is a test. If the Poseidon turns back, Beijing scores a win. If the Hornets stand their ground, it risks a close pass escalating further. But retreat is not an option. Washington's orders are clear. Freedom of navigation. Freedom of flight. The radio fills with warnings in extended English. U.S. aircraft, you are in Chinese airspace. Leave immediately. The American crew replies with the standard phrase, "We are operating in international airspace." The script hasn't changed in years, but the distance between wingtips has never felt thinner. For the next minutes, it's a high-stakes dance. The Poseidon holds course. The Hornets shadow the Chinese jets. Every pilot knows, if anyone twitches, missiles could be armed in seconds. The world wouldn't just hear about a near miss, it would hear about the first shots. The encounter drags on. Minutes stretch like hours as both sides add more aircraft. The Poseidon holds steady, its crew locked in checks, while Hornets weave protective arcs. The Chinese formation shifts J-16 seconds sliding closer, J-11 seconds splitting wide, and the J-20 hanging back like a shadow. The tactic is clear. Surround, box in, and pressure the Americans into a mistake. The U.S. commander responds with measured moves. Hornets extend coverage, forcing the Chinese jets to keep distance. Overhead, the Hawkeye feeds constant updates, tracking every blip. This cat and mouse is razor thin. A single misread radar ping could send fighters into each other at nearly Mach speed. Then the Chinese step up the game. A J-11 dives low, blasting past the Poseidon's belly at less than 100 feet. Turbulence rocks the U.S. aircraft, crew gripping consoles as coffee spills. Voices crackle calm but strained. Unsafe maneuver. Record everything. Cameras capture every second. Proof for the diplomatic fight that follows. Altitude deconfliction becomes a chessboard. The Hawkeye assigns blocks. Hornets slide up and down the stack. The Poseidon steadies at 24,000 feet. ROE is strict. Weapons cold. Cameras hot. A Growler powers up for jamming but holds. A tanker waits to the south if the standoff drags long. Down below, the carrier turns into the wind. Deck crews chalk wheels, spot jets, and keep catapults warm. Picket destroyers widen the screen. SPY radars sweeping arcs of sky, ready to cue missiles if anything burns through. Everyone waits for the next move and hopes it isn't a mistake. For the Americans, it's about showing resolve without firing. For the Chinese, it's about pushing until the U.S. blinks. Legal lines repeat over guard. International airspace, outside 12 nautical miles. The Chinese ignore it, sliding closer, wings flexing in heavy wash. The Americans hold course. Discipline is the message. The stakes show in every pass. One slip and the incident becomes tomorrow's headline. A crash, a loss, a spark. And that's why the question falls to you. If you were in the cockpit, would you press forward like the US or force them back like China? Comment 1 for America, 9 for China, and subscribe so you don't miss how this standoff escalates. Just when it seems the encounter has reached a stalemate, the Chinese fighters shift tactics. 2 J-16 seconds peel away and dive low, skimming the waves. Their move forces the Hornets to split attention, protect the Poseidon above, or chase the pair below. The twist is clear. Distraction, confusion, and a chance to catch the U.S. off guard. At the same moment, the J-20 vanishes from radar, slipping into stealth mode. The Hawkeye operators strain over their scopes, calling out faint traces that fade fast. For the Poseidon crew, it's unsettling. The U.S. commander reacts fast. One section of Hornets breaks to shadow the low-flying J-16 seconds, while the rest tighten formation around the Poseidon. The Growler lights up its jammers, sending pulses to disrupt targeting radars. It buys seconds, but in a close encounter, seconds can mean survival. Then comes the closest pass yet. A J-11 roars by, crossing less than 20 feet from the Poseidon's wingtip. The wake jolts the aircraft hard, oxygen masks swinging, papers flying. The pilot steadies the controls, voice clipped. Hold course. The crew obeys training over fear. What unnerves everyone is the sense this was coordinated. Low-flying J-16 seconds to stretch defenses, a stealth jet fading on radar, and a J-11 buzzing dangerously close all at once. It's not just harassment, it's a playbook, testing reactions step by step. In that moment, the Americans realize this is no routine intercept. It's a rehearsal for something bigger. And if this rehearsal goes wrong, the first casualty won't just be an aircraft, it could be the fragile peace of the region. The standoff snaps into its peak. Chinese jets close in from 3 directions, one high, one level, one low. The Poseidon is bracketed, alarms chirping, the cabin tense. Hornets roll in hard, afterburners glowing, crossing paths to shield the slower aircraft. The sky fills with contrails, dives, and tight turns at supersonic speed. A J-16 banks too close, wings nearly slicing the Poseidon's airspace. The US pilot calls, "Brake left," and a Hornet darts in, cutting across the fighter's nose. It's a message. No more games. The Chinese jet jerks away, but another sweeps in from behind, matching altitude, lights flashing as if to taunt. The Growler fires up again, blasting electronic noise. Screens on the Poseidon flicker, then stabilize. It's enough to deny lock-on, but the tension only grows. The E-2D above relays constant vectors, keeping every US jet aware of where the threat comes from. Coordination is the only shield against chaos. Suddenly, the stealth trace of the J-20 reappears, this time off the Poseidon's left wing. It slides into view, sleek and menacing, then snaps upward in a vertical climb, leaving the Poseidon shaking in its wash. Pure intimidation, a reminder that the Chinese can escalate at will. Down below, the carrier turns into the wind. Catapults stay hot but silent. On destroyers, SPY radars tag every return. ROE repeats, weapons tight, de-escalate when able. A tanker holds to the south. Fuel clocks tick in every cockpit. The US response is immediate. Hornets tighten formation. Weapons cold but fingers on triggers. One mistake here, and the Pacific could ignite. For 30 seconds, no one moves. Engines roar, radars sweep, eyes lock across canopies. Then, one by one, the Chinese fighters peel off, climbing away. The Poseidon steadies, the Hornets regroup. Relief fills the radios, but nobody relaxes. This was too close. The lesson is written in the sky. Deterrence works only if both sides believe the other won't flinch. Today, nobody blinked. Tomorrow, the same game could end differently. So here's the question. If you believe the US held the line, press 1. If you think China forced the edge, press 9. Either way, subscribe now so you're here when the next dangerous showdown unfolds. Result: the Poseidon makes it home, escorted by Hornets, with cameras full of evidence. On the carrier deck, pilots climb out, sweat soaking their flight suits. The relief is real, but so is the unease. Everyone knows this wasn't just a dangerous intercept, it was a signal. For Washington, the takeaway is simple but sobering. Freedom of navigation flights continue, but each one carries greater risk. Every close call forces split-second choices that could start something far larger than intended. Yet backing down isn't an option. To yield is to let Beijing dictate the rules of the sea and sky. For Beijing, the point has been made. By sending J-11 seconds, J-16 seconds, and even the J-20 into the mix, China showed not only capability, but will. The message is aimed at neighbors as much as Washington. These waters are ours, and we will act like it. Allies across the Pacific read the signals carefully. From Tokyo to Manila, capitals measure America's resolve. If the US holds firm, credibility remains intact. If it falters, confidence erodes quickly. Insurance rates, trade routes, and regional security hang on every pass in the sky. History shows how one spark can ripple. In 2001, a collision killed a pilot and triggered a crisis. In 2014, unsafe passes nearly caused mid-air disasters. In 2022, another near miss made headlines. Now, in 2025, the shadow of escalation feels heavier than ever. The crew of the Poseidon did their job. Stay steady, record proof, and get home safe. But the lesson is stark, Gray. Zone tactics cut closer each year, and both sides are more willing to gamble. The balance is fragile, the margin razor thin. Regional patrol schedules tighten, briefings run longer, and crews sleep in flight suits most nights. So here's where you weigh in. Was this a US victory in holding the line? Or proof that China is setting the tempo? Comment 1 if you stand with America. Press 9 if you think China's push is working. And don't forget to subscribe, because the next close call might be the one that changes everything.